Hi guys, my name is Cody Lowe and this is Max. We're strength and conditioning coaches here at Lift, and today we're going to be talking about youth strength and conditioning. A big thing for me would be to tell myself to cool out on the bicep curls and bench press. Like every teenage boy, that's all I wanted to do, and I skipped legs, I skipped core, I skipped the important things, and including movement quality. All I wanted to do was bicep curls, bench press. So I think, looking back, for myself as a 12-year-old, if I could have good quality movement coaching and a good variety of introduction to those different types of exercises, that'd be incredibly important for me. How about you, Max?
I think the biggest thing is to learn about managing injuries. I would always just push through every single injury, whatever it was, an ankle sprain, a knee sprain, take a day off and just boom, right back to it. And a big thing is, what if I were to exercise more properly, manage those injuries better, stretch a little more is a big thing, work on my mobility when I was at a younger age, and it may have prolonged my career and made me into a healthier adult. I think that's the biggest thing for me I wish I knew as a kid.
So I think for an appropriate age to start strength and conditioning can really be at any age. If we look at the principles of what strength and conditioning is, this is an overload principle. Meaning, even as a toddler, as they pick up their ball, as they squat down, hinge over properly, then really they're starting at that age. So we've seen healthy individuals start 4 or 5 years of age, start and be very successful with it.
I would say the biggest one that I hear from parents is, oh, if they're gonna do strength and conditioning, they think they're doing weights, resistance training, and they're gonna stunt their growth. And research shows that's not true. If everything's being done properly and coached properly, and if they're learning to move well, then they're gonna get some sort of benefit, and a lasting benefit for their whole career.
And I think to add to that point of what Matt just said, on top of we're going to increase injuries, we're going to stunt growth, it's bad for their joints. Those they found, as Max pointed out, over time is not true. And that's why we promote youth strength conditioning, especially here at Lift. If they're coached well, then we're actually improving their health outcomes and decreasing the risk of any types of injuries. So that's why, again, we promote coached, guided strength and conditioning for youth individuals.
Well, I would avoid as a youth just going into it on your own and not having someone guide you, and not just base it off YouTube or the internet, because there's so much false information out there. Having someone who's studied it and been a part of that industry as a strength and conditioning coach is going to benefit you a lot more, and have the proper guidance and make it so you're not going to hurt yourself in the end, right? Because that's the biggest thing, is you want to get stronger without any sort of injury.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you, as a youth, no matter what, you are going to get benefits from starting a strength and conditioning program, whether you do it on your own or you come here. Again, what we're advocating for is here you're going to have a better balanced program and learn how to optimize your movement so that we can create balance even in your own body, which is critical for your physical development. And if you're into sports and want to improve sporting performance, that's going to improve really how you're able to perform on the field, on the court, and that's going to be really important.
And I think a big thing is the education piece that we offer here, is that if you only sign up for however many sessions, whatever it may be, because that's all you can do, we want to give you the tools to be able to eventually do it on your own, right? Because this may not last forever for every single person. So if we're able to teach them the proper ways of strength and conditioning and allow them to have a longer career, a healthier career, that's like the main goal that we try to strive for with our athletes. I would say the beginning is mostly about bracing strategies for your core and mobility and learning to move properly. So if you ask a kid to squat or hinge, they might just bend their knees and they squat down, they think that's the right thing to do. But there's so many little components that they need to know to do a squat properly or do any movement properly, and that's the biggest thing. They learn how to break things down a lot better within this setting here, and then they're gonna get a lot more benefit out of it in the end.
I think one critical thing, especially for youth, is understanding the foundational movement patterns. So we're squatting, we're hinging, we're pushing, and we're pulling. What we see too often, especially at other gyms, are kids who can't even do a proper push-up. They're trying to do as much bench as possible. And they have no idea of how to create tension, how to maintain their posture. And when you actually see them do a push-up, they're falling all over the place. But when it comes time to do any upper body work, they're throwing on weight on the barbell, dumbbells, and trying to push as much as they can. And that's a really big fault, and that's something that we really want to correct here.
How's the weakness in the push-up kind of transfer to their sport?
Yeah, I think that weakness really is a key indicator test for us, because it shows that they have a hard time connecting their body from their lower body to their upper body and their core bracing. Now, when you're playing basketball, when you're playing soccer, volleyball, we want to connect everything because that helps with power transfer. That helps us when we make contact with individuals. 50-50 balls if we're going into the paint. And if you can't connect through that core, then you're really going to have struggles on sporting performance. You're going to increase your risk of injuries. And so, like I said, coming back to it, if we can help you understand how to do a push-up properly, integrate how your body moves as one, then we will see transfer onto the field, the court, the pitch, anything like that. Yeah, a lot of the times you'll go to another gym, and you'll see teenage boys, we'll use that as an example, and they are squatting and they are deadlifting. But really what their focus is as much weight as they can, and not necessarily worrying about technique, and they're just kind of ignoring the fact that they feel their back to the extreme. So again, their bodies are putting on weight, let's do the exact same thing. Well, guess what? Now their back is jacked up, they're feeling really stiff and immobile, they're not moving a weight properly, and then they try to move on field thinking, I'm stronger because I've moved more weight, but really, that poor movement that they've demonstrated, that inability to connect through their body that they demonstrated in the weight room, is also showing up on the court or on the field. And so, if we can help them figure that out, we'll see that better transfer. Yeah, we see, especially with you female athletes, the increased risk of knee injuries. 5 times increased risk of knee injuries, especially for youth female soccer and basketball athletes. And that's something that we can help reduce with proper strength conditioning principles and training. So if we're working on the squat patterns, hinge patterns, jump landing mechanic patterns, that will help transfer to decreasing the risk when they're on court, jumping, changing direction, taking contact, falling, so that when they're being healthier and also going to have better sport performance.
I think also a big thing is kind of breaking the stigma that like a girl can't be in the gym, right? They're only gonna play their sport, and through their sport, they're gonna just gradually get better. But if you look at the States, for example, like every school has like very high quality gyms. Everyone's in there working out, right? And it's kind of, breaking the stigma that girls shouldn't be in the gym, but when in reality, like their performance, their health is all going to increase if they do some sort of strength and conditioning training, and it'll just benefit them in the end, right?
A lot of times, especially you females will come in and they're worried about getting big and bulky, right? And that's really what we're finding is that's not necessarily what's happening. They are getting increased in hypertrophy or muscular size, but they're not getting big and bulky. Heck, how many times have you seen teenage boys consume how many different supplements to try and get big and bulky, and it's really not happening. So what's going to be important is absolutely gaining muscle size in really critical areas, especially in the quads, hamstrings for knee health, but not being afraid that you're going to get bulky, because the reality is you're not. Yeah, I think so. What people tend to think of when they do strength conditioning, they think that the first thing that happens is they get big and bulky. Well, actually within the body, what ends up happening is the first adaptation is more neurological. So our body becomes more efficient, more explosive. Its ability to move rapidly becomes better. And so, especially for sports where aesthetics is a concern, but also explosiveness, if we, again, coming back to our principles, do a proper guided strength conditioning program, then we can improve explosiveness and movement output without necessarily getting that bulk that may not be desirable for that sport. The biggest thing that we can advocate for youth individuals is consistency in a lot of ways. And they will see improvement through that entire spectrum, especially as they go through their peak height when they grow, and then when they stop growing, they'll really see big improvements. So if they're being consistent, then we know that they're more likely to maintain in their sport, get better performance in their sport, and have longer, healthier outcomes even past their sporting days. So if we can have that, then we know we've really done our job.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing is to hear about or see the progression in the athletes that we coach, like whether it's just through a text or whatever, like, yo, I finally threw down off 2 feet today or whatever, something like that. It makes me feel proud as a coach and makes me feel like I did my job correctly somewhat, you know? So it's always nice to hear that people are making progress. And I think through progress, whether it's incremental or like a huge leaps and bounds, it'll bring the consistency out in the athlete because they're seeing some sort of progression, they're seeing some improvements. Even if it's week to week, they're increasing whatever lift by 5 pounds, right? They're seeing like, oh, I'm getting stronger, and it's translating to my sport, and I'm gonna keep coming back because of that, and that's always a great feeling.
Any other closing remarks for youth athletes in strength and conditioning?
Don't be that teenage boy who shows up to the gym, who's drinking the Bang Energy drink, who knows all the supplements in that Bang Energy drink, but doesn't know how to squat, doesn't know how to deadlift, doesn't know how to do a push-up. Don't be that guy.
Yeah.
Because I've seen that.
Don't be me.
Yeah.